Hi everyone. Every week, as you know, on a Thursday at 8 p.m, we go out and we applaud the NHS, which I think is fantastic, but I also want to share a story for me that involves the NHS, just to, tell the story a bit about my life and a bit about why I appreciate the NHS so much for all the hard work they're doing, not just during the current pandemic that we're all in, but also, just overall, for me, the NHS has changed my life for the better. And I think that one of the most visceral memories I have of the NHS was when I was 10 years old and I had to get the lower half of my left leg amputated. Now, for those of you that don't know, I was born with my right hand missing. It stops just before my wrist, so I've got good dexterity, decent movement, and my left hand stops through the elbow joint, so I can move the elbow joint, but that's about it. That one always freaks everyone out. I like that one. I've got my full right leg, but I don't have the bottom half of my left leg. It stopped at birth, roughly maybe 2-3 inches after the knee, so I had like a little bit of the tibia, and sort of through complications and a few other operations at 10, we made the decision to amputate it. And for me, that was really quite scary. I'd already been through a few operations that I found a little bit traumatic. I didn't, it's not a nice experience. It's just not, with doctors and nurses and the anaesthetic coming in. It's just I didn't enjoy it. I don't know anyone that does enjoy going for an operation, but for me, the NHS staff, the nurses and the doctors, they were so supportive and caring, and they tried their absolute best to make me feel that everything was okay, because obviously I was so scared. I was going down for somewhat of a lengthy operation to, they gave me options. They were like, we can do some bone graft on the end and it'll give it a little bit longer length, or we can amputate, which will remove all these problems that we've been having, and a few other things. We can put in like a prosthetic kneecap and things like that. And eventually we went for the decision to amputate, myself and my parents, alongside the advice from the doctors and the staff that were at the hospital. They recommended that the amputation would be the best course of action. So I remember sitting in these meetings as a 10-year-old boy, absolutely out of my depth, but I knew one thing for certain, was that no matter the outcome, I was going to have another operation, and that scared me at the time. I've never been comfortable in that environment. Hospitals can be a daunting place. You tend not to go there if you're fit and healthy, so yeah, I'm sure you can imagine. But I remember that when this all came about, I didn't quite know what to think and what was going to happen. But one of the most traumatic experience of it all actually wasn't the operation itself. It wasn't the pre-op. It wasn't even the post-op, being in the theatre, and waking up and not knowing what's going on, and you're all groggy and you don't have a clue what way's up. It was actually the night of the amputation. After it all happened, I fell asleep in the bed. My dad was allowed to sleep sort of next to me on like a fold-out bed. The nurses provided that. That was, very kind of them. They made sure we were both comfortable. But after I had fell asleep, the nurses came by and they put up the little like guardrails that you get in hospital beds, like to protect you, almost like bumpers in a bowling alley. It's sort of rolling out of bed or whatever, because you're so drugged up on painkillers that you can just flop around. And so I just had the lower half of my leg amputated, and at about 2 o'clock in the morning, I rolled over in the bed and smacked the freshly amputated stump off the railing, and I screamed the place down. As I'm sure you can imagine, it's like 2 o'clock in the morning. Just had the leg amputated, and I've smashed it into this railing, this guard at the side of my bed, and I was like just complete agony, just screaming my absolute head off. And so obviously my dad jumps awake, and he's in a panic because he doesn't know what's happening, because he's not seen it, and he runs along to get the nurses, and the nurses come in, and they were so loving and caring, and they didn't care that I'd woken up the entire ward. All they cared about was that I was in pain and they were going to fix that, and they made me feel like everything was going to be okay because it was so painful. And yeah, they comforted me, and they didn't leave until I was like completely settled. And I don't think I wanted to go back to sleep, but you know, they just sat there and made sure that I was comfortable enough that before I knew it I would nod off, and that's what happened. And you know, looking back on that experience, the one thing that I remember the most isn't the pain, thankfully, or the whole traumatic experience of having to go under and things like that. It was the fact that those people, those nurses, those doctors, they cared about me, and they also care about everyone else. And that is why I think at this time we have to 100% stick to the guidelines that they've been given us. You know, these guys and girls are seeing this first-hand experience, and it doesn't sound very good at all. You know, so please wash your hands if you've got them. I try my best, but also, you know, just make sure that when you have to go outside, just social distance. It's not much to ask. And just make sure that you and your family stay safe. I urge you to please keep in contact with your loved ones, whether it's through a video call or just a telephone call, even a text message, something. I like to go old school, write a letter. Now that, you can show someone you really care, write them a letter, that would be awesome. But just, yeah, stay safe, practice social distancing where possible, and just this Thursday at 8 o'clock, when you're at your window or in your front garden or wherever you are, I know that you're going to be applauding. Think of the NHS and why they mean so much to us. I know I will be.